Welcome to the session on market access. And just to recap from the introduction, we have explained that to access the market, entrepreneurs and SMMEs, they need to make sure that they've laid the foundation in terms of, one, administratively, they have their administrative part in order. Two, it comes to the team. They have the necessary skills to execute the project or the activities of the business. That's two. And three, they need to make sure that they are fully compliant with the legislative requirements of the industry. That's three. And then four, they need to prove that they have done similar work before. So they have references in the space that they want to access the market. And lastly is that they have the operational infrastructure to execute the opportunity or the project that they're looking for. So if you are an SMME and you're looking to access the market in a certain field, you must make sure that operationally you have the infrastructure to execute if you were given an opportunity. Not only the physical infrastructure, but as well as the financial resources. So that sometimes you need to have capex, you need to have working capital for you to run a project that you might be given. Those are the 5 key things that as an entrepreneur, as a SMME, you need to make sure that you have in order. You make sure that you continuously improve. And yes, initially, you might not have everything, but make sure that you're continuously working on them. So now I'm going to repeat them because they are very, very, very important for SMMEs. The first one is on the administrative compliance. Make sure that you have your company registration document, you pay your CIPC, you make sure that you pay your tax, you have your tax clearance. If you're in your sector, they're looking for a letter of good standing from Department of Health, you have those in order. So on administrative side, you have proof of res, you have ID copies of the directors, shareholders agreements, proof of res for the company. So that's on the administrative side. You need to make sure that you have those in order. We're going to go into details in terms of what is required and how our app assesses you on those. That's the first one on the administrative side. The second one is on the industry compliance. Certain industries require certain things. So if you're in mining, you need to have a mining license. If you're in training, you need to have you need to be accredited for the training courses that you're offering. If you're running a franchise, you need to have a franchise agreement. If you are providing food, you need to have food and safety, health and safety certificate. So those are the industry specific. So the second one is to make sure that you have industry specific compliance for the sector that you are focusing on. That's the second one. The third one is you need to make sure that you have a team to be able to execute whatever the opportunity that you might be granted. Yes, you are still looking for access to market, but the person who's going to give you the opportunity will want to see if you have the technical skills to execute the project. In terms of technical skills, as a small business, you might not be able to employ all the experts that you might need in your business. You might not have all expertise internally, but you must build networks, you must build relationship with people in your sector so that you have an understanding. It can be an SLA or a memorandum of understanding with certain experts that you can afford at the current moment to bring them on board. Then you enter into a SLA or memorandum of understanding so that you can use their profile when you are approaching the market for you to try to enter the market. You can have the service level agreement to agree on your terms in terms of if you get an opportunity, how you're going to work with them. They will be freelancers or you can bring them on once you secure the opportunity, but you must negotiate with them upfront to know what kind of expertise you will need from them and then how much they will charge you in terms of the rates, if it's a rate per hour or per project, depending on the sector that you are in. The third one, you need to make sure you have the expertise, build relationship, have the network of people that if you secure a project, you will be able to use. until you get to a point where you will be able to employ them on a full-time basis. That's the third one. The fourth one, make sure that you have references, because sometimes when you're looking to access the market, if you don't have references in terms of where you've done the work before, where people can vouch for you to say you've done the work before and they were happy with your service, the next person might not be willing to give you an opportunity because you don't have reference letters. Make sure that you secure reference letters upfront for the type of job that you have done. But if you are a startup, sometimes the business itself, it doesn't have references, but you as a person or the part of the team might have references. So you might obtain reference letters on your individual capacity, but ideally the reference letters must be in the business name. The client that you have serviced before, they should be able to give you reference letters. At least have 5 reference letters, and they must not be older than 3 years, those reference letters. So that's the fourth one. That's the fourth key factor that you need to make sure that you is sorted. And the last one is you must have your operations. You must have the infrastructure to execute the project, depending on the type of project that you'll be executing. But let's say a certain company wants to give you an opportunity, they must be able to come and verify where you are operating from. Even if you don't own the infrastructure, maybe enter into a service level agreement with people who owns the infrastructure, so that you can show your potential market to say, even though I don't own the infrastructure, but I have this service level agreement with so and so. Whenever I have the job, then this is how we're going to execute the job. We have the service level agreement. This is how they're going to charge me for the equipment or for the facility that I'll be using. It's not that you need to upfront have the facility. You might enter into a service level agreement or lease or whatever agreement, memorandum of understanding, whatever agreement you can enter into with the company that or the institution that will be providing you with the operational infrastructure. But if you can secure the operational infrastructure, so that when the people are giving you opportunity, they have infrastructure that they can verify, so that you give them that confidence that you will be able to execute the project. Under the operational readiness, you need to make sure that the other one is, sometimes you need capital expenditure to execute certain projects, or you need working capital to execute the project. So as you go out into the market, you should be able to prove that at least you have sufficient working capital to execute the project if you are given the opportunity, or you have the potential to secure the working capital if the type of project that you're executing, it requires you to also have to buy certain assets or equipment. Then you need to be able to indicate that there's indication that you will be able to secure that funding for you to execute the project. Those are the 5 key things that you need to make sure that you prepare, you make sure that you understand what are the requirements. Those are the 5 key factors that you need to look at. Administrative compliance, make sure that you are ready. Industry-wise, you need to make sure that you have the necessary accreditations and licenses. You need to make sure that you have the team that you'll be able to use or access to execute the project. 4, you need to have references where people can verify that you will be able to execute the project. And lastly, operationally, you must have the infrastructure or access to infrastructure and access to funding or working capital for you to execute the project. So those are the 5 key things that you as an SMME, you must have. So just to recap, that's the introduction in our course to market access. And then now we're going to dive into those 5 factors that you need to look at. First, you're going to go into the administration and compliance to make sure that administratively you are compliant. Now we're going into the social empowerment section. When you're accessing the markets, right? Generally, people or organizations that will give you an opportunity to access the market, most especially giving opportunity to SMMEs. They want to make a difference in communities. They want to empower the previously disadvantaged communities and individuals, and they want to empower SMMEs as part of the most important driver of our economic development. But from the SMME side as well, you need to show that you also share the same social empowerment that the market is showing towards you. So if you're looking at maybe being part of an enterprise development program of a large organization, they're doing it because socially they want to empower communities and they want to empower SMME. So it's a social aspect. It's a socio-economic aspect. It's not only social, but it's got the economic part to it. To say they want to empower the small guys. That's their socio-economic contribution. As an SMME, for you to access the same market, you must also show that you are interested in developing other SMMEs. You are also interested in developing communities. You are also interested in empowering communities in rural area. In terms of social empowerment, the business need to show that it's got potential to make a difference. In terms of potential, meaning there are few social empowerment or social activities that generally our B code is looking at. Not in any importance, but I'm just giving you the list of the items. First is women. Because of our history, obviously the social and BEE are coming from trying to rectify the injustices of apartheid, where certain groups were not provided access to economic activity. In terms of BEE, empowerment part is looking at empowering 1, women, 2, youth, 3, people with disability, 4, rural communities, and then 5 is the empowering the SMMEs. Those are the main key targets when it comes to empowerment. And all this as well, there's the general one, which is the black, previously disadvantaged, which is the colored, black, and Indian, which were previously disadvantaged. For your institution or for your organization, as small as it is, it must build a strategy towards empowering the community. So you must basically have a BEE strategy to empower communities, to contribute to social development in your communities, to buy from other small black-owned enterprises, and train other small enterprises in your area, so that when you are presenting to the market, because now remember you want to access the market, but you need to be able to show the part that you play in socially developing the market, in socially developing the others. You might not have the necessary funding initially to make a difference or to contribute financially into social development, but you can contribute in terms of training. If you have certain skills, you can contribute in terms of social, contribute hours towards the community, so that you build your social or socio-economic contribution. You build a good profile on the things that you do to socially empower the communities that you come from, empower rural communities, empower people with disabilities. That's one, in terms of the activities that the organization do. And then the other one you look at is in terms of the ownership. Make sure that where possible, it's easy for other institutions to assist businesses that are maybe owned by a few people, instead of assisting businesses that are owned by an individual. The business must be owned by, preference are women, youth, and people with disabilities, and rural-based organization. What you need to do, if you want to partner with other people, make sure that you are being strategic about it. Bringing women into the shareholding, bringing people with disabilities, bring youth, bring rural communities to be part of your project. It's on the ownership level. Then on the management level, similarly, bring in women, bring in youth, bring in people with disability. Okay, in this case, I'm assuming you're black. But if you are not a black institution, then bring in a black executive. So that on the ownership part, you hit your P points or your social contribution. On the management part, you also hit your social contribution. That's a very important. And the other things, make sure that you spend certain amount of profit, if you are making profit, into donating towards a good cause, social development, and all those things, so that you already bring in the social aspect into your organization. It becomes embedded in the culture of the organization, because the other organizations that you want assistance from, they want to see that you are also lending a hand to those who are less privileged, or those who are less privileged than you are. Basically, you must not be a hypocrite where you want other institution to help you while you are not helping others. You must be embedded in the culture of your organization to socially empower other organizations that you can. And then even with procurement, make sure you are, as an organization, you develop that culture or that awareness to make sure that you buy responsibly when it comes to social issues. You buy black, you buy local, you buy from people with disabilities, you buy from rural businesses, so that your procurement spend as well, it goes into developing communities. Because there's a story that I always tell, to say, once a rand comes into in a community, you must make sure that it circulates more than once in that community, so that the community can be empowered. So there's an example that I generally use to say, you have a businessman who comes into a community and then he wants to book a hotel. Before he books, he says, he pays the receptionist or the owner to say, I just wanted to see the hotel first. While he is going to see the hotel, the owner goes quickly pay the butcher for the money that he was owing. And the butcher pays he was owing the electrician, pays the electrician. The electrician was owing the lady of the night. Then the electrician goes, pays the lady of the night. And the lady of the night was owing the hotel. Then they come quickly and then they pay the hotel. That 1,000 rand that the businessman had paid, it has circulated 4 times within the community. So it basically created 4,000 rand from nothing. And at the end of the day, the guest decide that, no, I'm not going to stay here. I have an emergency at home. Then he takes the 1,000 rand and leave. But by that businessman has created 4,000 rand worth of activities in that community. That's how simple social or socio-economic spending does, where the rand is circulating a little bit more in the communities before it leaves. Unlike the current settings where you get paid, then you go home, you buy from save, and then the money goes back to Cape Town. There's no money that is circulating in the communities. Or you are renting from a mall. The mall is owned by a company in Pretoria. You pay the rental. So the rental is not going into communities, but it comes in, it goes out back to wherever it's coming from. Socio-economic spending is very, very important in developing the country, the economy, and the communities. Don't only do it so that you can access the market, but make it part of the culture. Make it part of your strategy. Make it part of your organization to spend on socio-economic activities. Make sure you buy black or you buy local. You buy from women, you buy from youth, you buy from people with disabilities. It goes a long way. That's on the social empowerment part. And then the other one that you need to make sure that you have on log is job creation. If people were to give you access to market, they must know that they are making a bigger difference in terms of job creation. Look at the projects in terms of how many jobs will you be able to create if somebody gives you access to market. Remember, access to market, I continuously say that it's more of a socio-economic issue. People are giving you an opportunity so that they can uplift you. But as well, when you're giving you opportunity, if there's one business that will potentially create, let's say 10 jobs, and there's another business that will create 1 job. If somebody's sitting there deciding, we look at the one that has got a higher impact in job creation or in social development. So the chances are the job will be given to the business that will have higher job impact or create more jobs. That's logical. But I'm not saying that you mustn't be pro technology where you are more efficient. But even if you are looking at the technology to improve less, maybe labor intense, but high tech type of business, look at downstream in terms of how can you bring in more people into the organization. What in terms of supply chain, most especially where can you localize certain things in your operations. So it doesn't mean you must always be inefficient with high number of employees. No, but you look at downstream to say, how can I localize certain things? If you are manufacturing laptops, there's certain portions that you can, even if you are using high-tech assembly plant, but there's certain inputs that you can localize. You can create local jobs. Once the other side sees that you're creating local jobs, you're creating employment, you're socially contributing to the community, then you are likely to have a good advantage in accessing the market. It's easier to give access to market to institutions that are making a difference in communities. You must look at the jobs, but you don't have to be inefficient and high job intense operation, but you can also be creative about it. Go downstream to look at the partnership that you can create downstream to produce certain components, or across your sector to see who else is in the same sector. How can you improve maybe the supply chain or the distribution where you're creating local jobs. Local jobs is very important. So in the social side, you look at the empowerment side, the BEE score, looking at women, youth, people with disabilities, black businesses, local businesses, and rural businesses. That's one. It will give you good points when you're going out looking for markets. And the second one is the job creation, the impact that you create in your community, the jobs that you create in downstream within the organization across the supply chain. So look at that in terms of strategy and analyze it and be intentional about it. Be intentional about economic development, about contributing towards the community. And it's not always charity. It must make economic sense. It must not, you are doing it just for the sake of doing it. You must be doing it to empower others within your community. So that's the social empowerment section, but it's important when you're accessing the market to make sure that you also giving back, you're also contributing towards community development, or contributing towards black empowerment, or contributing about empowering youth, empowering people with disabilities, and empowering women. So that's the social section on access to market. Make sure that you also have that one on lock. And the app goes into detail in terms of certain things that you have to look for and certain things that it gives you a scoring if you are achieving certain things. And from there, it feeds into the total scoring that you will get. If you can see here, on this app, the organization is on 92%, but the target is anything above 95%. All these factors contribute towards your score and your chances of being given an opportunity to access certain markets. So make sure that the social component, you don't ignore it. It's very, very important, and it makes a difference in people's lives. That's our social empowerment section. Thank you. Now, as an entrepreneur, then how to use our app in terms of how to complete the market access assessment. After you've logged into the website, you'll come here to say, yeah, complete your business plan. And then You see it changes to manage your business plan listing. If you click on manage business plan listing, this is your organization. It will be listed like that. It shows you where you are in terms of the rating. Ideally, it's for you to be on 95% so that the market can see that you are compliant. Now, to update each section, you will have to click on your business. Then it will bring you this dashboard. So basically on this dashboard, it's got all the key sections that you need to consider or that you need to work on as an entrepreneur to access the market. The first one is administrative section. You need to complete all the sections by clicking on that rating there that you see there. So if you click on it, it will give you a form that you need to complete. And the second section is on management. This is assess the management and the technical ability and know-how of the team. And the third one is on the market section. It assesses your value proposition, the market that you have already secured, the barrier to entry, and the industry growth. So this is just analyzes the market for you to see if the market that you are going into is viable, and it rates you. And then the third one is on the operational section. It gives you the overall rating. So on the operation section, we look at the operating system, we look at the operating and technical compliance. We look at the systems and processes because they are very important to look at. And the fourth one is on the finance section. The funding that is required, the working capital required, and the actual performance, your current actual performance. And then the financial projections that you have made and the financial security. What security are you providing? And then on the fifth one, we're looking at the social impact, which is the social empowerment and the job creation. So there you're going to do the self-rating, where you rate yourself in terms of where do you see yourself, but the app will guide you. And the last section is on legal section, where legal compliance, are you compliant with the requirement of your industry, and if there are any litigations that you are involved in. This is the dashboard for accessing the market. As you complete it, first you will self-assess yourself to see where you think you are. And on the red one, then the facilitator, you'll appoint a facilitator through the app who will assess the same things that you have assessed, so that when we send out your profile to potential institution that will be able to give you access to market, it will have both the ratings, your ratings and the ratings of the facilitator. Make sure that when you complete this, you are as honest as possible. If you don't have the documentation, just be honestly respond to the questions that are asked in an honest way, so that even when the facilitator is doing the facilitation to support you, they know that they are starting from the correct base. Because in an effort for you to score a higher overall score, you might want to exaggerate some of the rating. It's not important. It doesn't help you. You might come across as a person who's not reliable. For you to make sure that you are consistent and they know who they're dealing with, your initial assessment is very, very important. So I'll show you how you do your initial assessment, but that assessment is critical because it's set as a basis. Because after the facilitator has assisted you to improve your scoring, then you're going to have the assessor who will be totally independent. Will also assess your score to see if the scoring was reasonable and it was consistent, so that he can recommend your business for access to market or access to funding or whatever the opportunities are there. So depending on the consistency of the scoring, it's important for you as an entrepreneur to be honest when you're completing this assessment tool. To complete the assessment tool, depending on which section you want to complete, if let's say you want to complete the industry growth, you just click there on self-rating. You have the tab there. If you click there, then it opens you a window for you to show you the items that you need to assess. For example, is operational system, is documentation, is the training that is being provided. So there are different scores for that item. So for you to edit the score, you simply go and click on edit. So on edit, you open this form, then there's a question, operation management. This one is the overall comments that you give in terms of the supporting document that you verified or the supporting documents that you use. And then on the challenges identified, as an entrepreneur as well, be as open as possible, because this is the development areas. Because if you try to hide the challenges, then the system or the people who are assisting you, they wouldn't know which area you want support on. So it's very important for you to be able to identify the challenges. It's mainly on this section. And then the corrective actions is on the corrective actions that you think they must be taken. So it will be your view as an entrepreneur, and the facilitator as well will have a view on what corrective actions can be taken. So these are the actions that will be taken to improve your scoring. There must be interventions that are required, and then the app, as its objective is to facilitate access to markets, it also facilitates access to training. If you identify opportunities here and you put in the corrective action, then the platform will be able to identify the entrepreneurs who needs a certain intervention, that it will group you together and source that specific intervention on your behalf. It's very, very important when you're completing this form that first to be honest on the first section, honest throughout, obviously, but being as clear as possible on the challenges that you have on this section, and then the corrective actions that you wish they could be taken, or the corrective action that you're gonna take. It depends. Sometimes there are certain things that you will be able to do on your own, but there are sometimes certain things that you can't do on your own. So here you indicate the corrective actions that needs to be taken. Then you get to the assessment itself, where there is a drop down. We made it easy for entrepreneurs. It's the drop down. It gives you options. Then you just choose the closest options to your organization. Here, the first one, for instance, say operation management system. Okay, is it sufficiently documented? Do you have sufficiently documented policies and procedures? If yes, then it will be sufficiently. And then if no, if it's insufficient, it's documented but it's insufficient, then you choose that. Or if you don't have the system at all, be honest about it so that we know what interventions your organization will need if it requires intervention. It's not that if you put in a negative, call it a negative answer, you wouldn't be assisted, but you will get an appropriate assistance if you are honest when you complete this diagnostic tool. This is what we call the diagnostic tool, because it diagnoses the challenges that you might be having in you accessing the market. But the important thing is to make sure that you have access to market. So we identify all the problems challenges that you might have, and then make sure that they're addressed. Here on the system, and then on the operational management, then we have, is the system documented?